Hello Clark team. This next video is going to focus on how to add a new crossword to the games and activities on the website. So on the back end here, this one is not labeled quite as well as the others. It's using this existing plugin that does a lot of things. So we come all the way down here to this H5P is the name of that. So we go ahead and click on that. We can see the existing, crosswords and word searches, which they call find the words, in the list here. There's a couple pages worth of stuff. We're not going to bother looking at an existing one. We're going to go ahead and just make a very simple new one so that you can see how to add a crossword. So we come right up here to add new and click that. And there's a list of a lot of different kinds of things that this plugin does. Rather than try and scroll through and find it, we're just going to type crossword, and there we go. Go ahead and click on that. And it starts us off with a crossword puzzle. So the first thing we're going to do is give it a title. The description, we don't need to put anything here. That extra instruction text will go in on a later step. So the next thing that we do here is the clue and the answer. And that is just as simple as you might think. We'll go ahead and do the second one. You can see I've switched to the second clue here. And to keep adding more clues, we just go ahead and hit add word here, and we're going to be presented with new blank options each time that we do that. I went ahead and added a couple extra items here just so we'd have a few things to sort of build out our fake crossword. The extra clue function is not something we've been using. Fix word on the grid is not something we've been using. This is leaving this unchecked is what helps it, reformat the puzzle each time that somebody visits so that the puzzle is new each time. These all control the look and feel and the behavior settings, but I think we've already settled on all of this, so you don't need to worry about these items down here. I think this would affect it for all of the puzzles. So yeah, in any case, we've got our title, we've got our clues and answers for each one of these items, and then we can just hit create. In this case, we don't need to worry about it showing up on the front end. I know the site is live, but it won't do that until we do the second step here, which I'm going to show you next. So let's go ahead and hit create. And then it gives you a little preview of what the puzzle is and how it's putting it all together. So then for the second step, for us to get this to show up on the front end of the site, we go to the games section right here. So what we do need to note before we do that is that the ID of this puzzle is 53. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here on a pad of paper that you can't see. And we will go ahead and go to the games. You can see all of the games on the site here. We're going to go ahead and say add new. Now, since the games work for a couple of different things, it asks me a question here, is this a coloring book page? Which in this case it's not, so we're going to hit other game. And here's where we would upload our PDF. Obviously we can't do that until we get this all published, but here is where that number goes. So we're going to put in 53 here. Is there a mobile version? We're not doing that for the crosswords, I don't think, or at least not yet. This stuff is still a tiny bit in flux, but so far we're only using this for the crosswords, so we don't need to worry about this. I skipped this, but we do, of course, need to give it a name, and we do want those two names to correlate so that we can match that up to the game that we've entered into the other one. So I think this is what we called our test one as well. We do, of course, like with the other items, want to check what subject category this puzzle relates to. So, we'll just pretend this is an electricity one. And then, of course, in the game type down here, we will want to check off the type, which in this case is a crossword. The instructions are just what you would think. It's what goes just below the instructions headline, just above the puzzle. As with all of these, for it to show up in the grid, the filterable grid, we'll need to use a featured image here. Let's go ahead and go here. That does need to be a particular size, as with the videos and the activities and the careers. That needs to be 500 wide, 500 pixels wide by 307 pixels tall. Obviously, this has nothing to do with our fake color crossword, but we're just going to use it anyway as a placeholder. So we'll load that. And then the last item that we have here are the calls to action, which are those rows at the end of the puzzle that suggest other things to click onto when they're done. So again, we can come right here to the calls to action. We get a list of everything that has been created. So our thought process for this has been to do one row that is more games and then another row that is content. So you can see that these are labeled. If it's topics, it should say topics and what those topics are. If it's games, it should show you the subject and then it's games. There are a couple of video ones as well. So since we're pretending that this one is electricity, we also want one of them to be that. So let's do electricity games for one, and we'll do one that's content, and renewables is sort of related to electricity. So we'll do renewable topics. Again, you can reorder these by dragging them. And then since the site is live now and people are looking at it, we're going to, instead of publishing it, we're going to save it as a draft. Even if it weren't live, this is a great step because we do need to create our PDF, which I'll show you in a separate video. And this will allow us to view the puzzle and get the pieces that we need in order to make that print document. So we can say, go here to view the game. And there's our puzzle so that we can screenshot this and get that into our Word template so that we can create the PDF that goes here. Really, all that needs to happen is we say, add file. Here's a whole bunch of items, so we'll just add a fake one here. See if we can find one that's the word searches are still in progress. We'll just add one that is, crosswords are still in progress. We'll just add one that's a word search for now. We'll select that. Here we can see that it's been added. Again, we're not going to publish yet. We're going to save that as a draft. And now again, we can come here and refresh. And now we've got the print this game option, which will open in a new tab. So just to reiterate quickly, here's our title, which shows up here in the banner. Here are our game instructions, which show up underneath the instructions headline. Here is our printable PDF, which shows up right here. We've entered game ID 53, which is what makes the puzzle that we entered in the H5P show up here. We have checked electricity, which is what makes this all yellow and is what's going to make it show up under the electricity header in games if it were live. And we've checked it off in Crosswords, which again is part of the filtering, which we can't preview right now because we don't want to show it to everybody else. And then here is the image, which again is what would show up here for the identification of clicking into that particular puzzle. And that should be everything that you need to know about creating a crossword and adding it so that it shows up in the filterable section of the games part of the website. Thanks so much.